I'm back in the Union Cemetery with some old friends and some new ones. Dogs, pooches. Dogs trained to find historical and ancient bones. Welcome to the Something or Other tour. Welcome to the Something or Other tour. We're at the historic Union Cemetery in Redwood City once again. Today the cemetery will be visited by dogs, specifically dogs that train to be able to identify human remains, some of which are of historical importance. They're actually called forensics dogs or human remain dogs. I'm not sure if it's a demonstration or they're training them. Not entirely sure, but it sounds interesting enough for me to show up. You may remember this cemetery from an episode we did last year. One of my favorite episodes, and it's led to a lot of cool opportunities, which is awesome. Looks like zombies may have come out and really made a mess of this place. The Union Cemetery has a ton of amazing pioneer Wild West history, gold rush history. If you haven't watched it yet, I highly urge you to go back and watch the full episode I did here. And I've learned a lot more stories about the cemetery since, so part 2 might be in the works. Kathy Klebe, the president of the Historic Union Cemetery Association, I'll link it down below, got a lot of cool stuff going on, saw the video. She invited me back here to be a special guest speaker at a private event.
Special guest today.
So the boy does reenactments, so he has a full uniform. I don't feel important enough to be standing here talking to you guys, but I appreciate it. Yeah. By the time I'm gone, I hope I have videos, every con day. History everywhere. It was really cool, big honor, a lot of fun, and it's led to a lot of really cool opportunities that should be popping up on this channel very soon. For decades, the cemetery sat in disrepair. Nobody was here to maintain it. It was just abandoned. So I'm thankful for people involved in the association for taking care of it. They do a great job. The Honorable Benjamin Fox. This is one of my favorite ones here. Told more about the story in the other video. So the Institute for Canine Forensics, based locally, comes out here. They use the cemetery for training, and they also put on demonstrations like this. So we're lucky enough to be here to check it out. And they answer questions and let us know what's what, I'm in a wee doc in forensics. I think they might be getting started without me, so let me head over there.
Our dogs do not specialize in the stages of decomposition. I'm sure everybody's heard the word cadaver dog. We don't like that word.
So they actually don't like the term cadaver dogs. They teach their dogs to find ancient and historical sites. So they don't teach decomposition or to find recent bodies. They train them to find old bones. They said the oldest bones they have found carbon dated were 9,500 years old. Most of their work is done at Native American sites. So when there's a big development, these people come out and make sure that the developers aren't just desecrating an old Native American burial ground.
How old is too old to smell the bones? Could it go into ancient Egypt and smell bones?
Okay, John!
The oldest we have detected that has been radiocarbon dated down in San Diego County. The radiocarbon date came out as 9,500 years old. Kaylee was one of the dogs that detected that burial after it was excavated and radiocarbon dated.
Probably 75% of our work involved Native American. There's a lot of really, really good questions. Like people see this and it's like, really? Dogs can do this? And they can't. This is my favorite one.
That little lizard. If you're not familiar with this, if you didn't see my other video, you should go check it out. But real quick, this is a pioneer era cemetery from the Wild West days. Most known because it has a plot right here, GAR plot, Grand Army of the Republic. These are all Civil War veterans that came out to California to be pioneers. They set up a plot right here so they could all be buried together. They had their own plot set aside. So definitely check out that other video. I talk more about the history and the Union Army soldiers and some of the amazing Wild West stories, like George Washington Tallman's tale over there. So they'll run around, sniff around. Once they catch a scent, they take a seat right there so that they get a treat. So positive reinforcement with treats. These things got some snouts, huh? High-level snouts. These are some of the young ones they're still trying to train, so you can see they're a little rambunctious.
I see glimmers of maturity and then it goes away.
Yeah. When we have sometimes a job, we will be asked to do a cemetery. What are the boundaries? Because as we know through history, in the past, some people were not allowed to be buried like in the churchyard. You know, unwed mothers, outlaws.
Different ethnicity.
They were not allowed to be buried within the proper cemetery, but they could be on the outsides. Historic cemeteries are vital to our work.
The dogs here today are more along the lines of archaeologists than crime scene investigators. The nonprofit organization here today is called the Institute of Canine Forensics, founded in 1998 nearby. The founders of the Institute originally worked with your traditional cadaver dog types of things like search and rescue, but at some point they discovered the dogs had the ability to also locate historical human remains. It's important work when we know that many people, many cultures were basically desecrated and forgotten. The dogs helped discover historical human remains that would otherwise never be found. From Native American burial grounds to paupers' graves, which littered California in the West as settlements popped up almost overnight and disappeared just as fast as people scrambled to find gold or riches in the form of natural resources or entrepreneurship or land. People were just buried in a plot and forgotten as the only people that knew left for greener pastures. Keep in mind that as those settlements spread, so did the brutality and the war on Native Americans, whose sites were almost always completely wiped out as well. The dogs aren't just here for fun and goofs, they actually use the cemetery as training grounds. The handlers know where the remains are, which makes it easy to assess the dog's skills. They sniff around, and when they identify what they think is human remains, they sit right down on it.
We know that this one pays, pretty strong. But I want to see a little recognition before I take it.
Yeah, makes sense.
Most of our work here has been using the known, because we train our young dogs here. Come to a place like Union Cemetery because you can't really duplicate the scent in a historical cemetery. When they first come here and the light bulb comes on, it's very exciting because they know their scent of the bones and teeth and they think they're hot stuff. And then you see, literally, it's the light bulb moment when they smell and they're going, hey! She goes, oh, right there.
Right in there, that's where it's strongest.
Thank you, Miss Kaylee.
Okay, good girl. All right.
She's too little to have a full alert yet.
Yeah.
When she indicates the ground like that.
Yeah, she's dropping hints, right?
Well, it's all she knows so far.
Yeah.
So these are just baby steps.
One of my best friends was a black lab. Rest in peace, Philo, my noble steed.
And these two are so close together, they usually can't discriminate between one and the other.
It's the field experience that makes a dog great. So bringing up the new generation is really, really important. We train on bones and teeth.
There's a lot of cool things going on here at the Union Cemetery, events like this, tours coming soon again. So if you're in the area, you like historical places, I mean, this is a hidden gem. And thank you to Kathy Klebe. So many cool things have happened since I did that video here. And I'm really extremely grateful for it. In fact, I was in a magazine. Climate Magazine's a local magazine. It's awesome.
All right. Look at that.
Grab a handful of these bad boys. Hey look, I'm in the background too. I'm there twice. Oh, they're investigating the Illuminati trees that I mentioned. Might have been in the Patreon exclusive episode. Is there anything there?
To a isolated island in the South Pacific, which is one of the possible places Amelia Earhart had ended up.
That dog over there was recently brought to Fiji, to a very remote island out in the middle of nowhere, because there was a chance that bones from Amelia Earhart were found there. But the bones were lost during World War II, So they went out to see if there was any hint, any remains that they could find.
They had discovered bones on the island 3 years after she disappeared, and then those bones were lost in World War II.
We started in search and rescue, and Len has worked as a FEMA disaster handler for many years. So, you know, we've been around a lot of different avenues of this. We're looking for historic and prehistoric burials. And we actually didn't even know the dogs could do that. When we first started in search and rescue, we had no idea the dogs could do this.
Cambridge University recently published a study on the accuracy of the dogs, because there are false positives, but they said the accuracy is in the high 90s.
So it's a formal archaeology journal published out by Cambridge University, and there's a discussion in there of false positives. They put her picture on the cover.
There's an interesting connection between the Institute and this channel. The founder was near the Agnews Historical Cemetery and let the dog go just to see what would happen, and that's when they discovered that the dogs had this talent. Agnews Asylum is one of our early abandoned videos. It's the old asylum in Santa Clara County. I've been planning a part 2 ever since, but it's been difficult to get access to some of those places, including the cemetery, but hopefully someday.
So what a cool profession, you know? It's one of those careers that you have no idea exists until you meet someone that does it. I mean, I know forensics dogs and cadaver dogs, like for CSI and all that, but to find ancient sites or historical sites, that's pretty cool. I mean, helping to search for Amelia Earhart, how cool is that? It's hard enough to just potty train a puppy, let alone a highly skilled profession, finding archaeological sites. Couldn't imagine. I mean, I don't know how to find archaeological sites, so how do I teach a dog to do it? Can't teach an old dog new tricks. Can't teach an old YouTuber new tricks at all. So what do you guys think? What do you think about the forensics? What do you think about the efficacy? Kathy emails me occasionally and tells me about some like new stuff she found. She's like, hey, you hear this guy? And then when I came back for the private event, she was doing the same thing. Like, hey, did you see this one? Did you see this one? My point being, I should do a part 2. I should do a part 2. There's so much more cool history in here. I grew up around here, and I would just always drive by and be like, oh, that's the old creepy cemetery. No biggie, but no, there's actually some amazing history here. So that's it for the Union Cemetery. Remember, we got a Patreon, a lot of cool behind the scenes stuff. We did the video here at the Union Cemetery. There's also a Patreon exclusive video with some stuff that I had to cut out for time. Some other fun little historical things we found. Goofs, gags, things like that, of course. Thank you to Kathy and all the people that I met here at the cemetery, and all the kind words and opportunities I've gotten because of this cemetery. So really, really cool stuff. Like, subscribe, share, do all the cool things that cool kids do. Vertlife something or other tour. Every time I show up, there's new information on here. They do a great job. Kathy also gave me a copy of this map, so it hangs on my wall now. That thing attacked me. Saw the fuzzy microphone. All right, love this place. So much cool history. Massive snouts.